Okay, so I'll just read the verse one more time before we start. Tasmatvam indriyani vadho niyamya bharata sakha apamanam prajahi ena jnana vijnana nasanam. And we'll go to the translation again. Therefore, Arjuna, O best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. And purport by His Divine Grace is the Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So purport. The Lord advised Arjuna to regulate the senses from the very beginning so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroys the urge for self-realization and specific knowledge of the self. Jnana refers to knowledge of self as distinguished from non-self, or in other words, knowledge that the spirit soul is not the body. Vijnana refers to specific knowledge of the spirit soul's constitutional position and his relationship to the Supreme Soul. It is explained thus in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.31. Jnanam parama guyam me yad vijnana samanvitam sa rahasyam tad angam cha Prana Gati Maya. The knowledge of the self and supreme self is very confidential and mysterious, but such knowledge and specific realization can be understood if explained with their various aspects by the Lord Himself. Bhagavad Gita gives us the general and specific knowledge of the self. The living entities are part and parcels of the Lord, and therefore they are simply meant to serve the Lord. This consciousness is called Krishna Consciousness. So from the very beginning of life, one has to learn this Krishna Consciousness, and thereby one may become fully Krishna conscious and act accordingly. Lust is only the perverted reflection of the love of God, which is natural for every living entity. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, that natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. When love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to the normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So from any stage of life or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life. Okay, so we see that this chapter 3, is about Karma Yoga. And during this chapter we just read, Arjuna had asked a question to Krishna, that what is it that forces one to act? So what is it that is forcing everyone to act? We know about the modes of material nature, but it's also the lust. So lust is actually forcing us to act, to do something even though we don't want to do it, because, we are just impelled by this lust. So in verse 40 yesterday, we saw that this enemy lust has captured, like on strategic positions, of the soul, of the conditioned soul, that is, namely the senses, mind, and intelligence. So we saw that lust actually resides in these three places, and it covers our knowledge. So today we're going to look at how we can conquer this lust. So what is lust actually? And we saw in this verse in the purport that lust is the desire to enjoy. So, everyone wants to enjoy in different ways. So in other words, lust is gratifying our senses. So it's actually, Srila Prabhupada says that it's a perverted form of love of Godhead. So we all have love. We have love for Godhead. But when we come into this material world, that gets perverted. So that then turns into lust, where we want to just enjoy and, for sense gratification. And this is the whole reason we are here. Why did we come to this material world? We wanted to be independent. Once upon a time, as souls, we were all living with the Lord, but then we felt that we want to become independent, we want to enjoy. And the Lord is so merciful that He arranged it for us so that, we can gratify our senses in many ways in this material world. That's what it is all about. Now, I heard about this actually. It's some scientists, they carried out this experiment on a rat. So they had a trap, and they put some food in it. So the rat actually came, and because it was hungry, it went into the trap, and they shut the door to this trap. So then the rat was thinking, okay, what do I do in here now? And it was moving about, and then there was a button there in this trap. It was a red button. So this rat went and pushed the button, and a chunk of cheese fell on its head. So then the rat thought, oh, this is very nice, and he enjoyed the piece of cheese. And then again, it was roaming around, and then again, it pressed on the button. And this time, some chapati fell. So then he enjoyed the chapati as well. And then again, he was roaming around, and after a little while, he went and he pressed it again. So what do you think happened? Now, we're thinking that cheese fell out, chapati fell out, maybe a jambu or something will fall out. But no, he got an electric shock. So he was really terrified, and he thought, where did that come from? For a little while, I've been enjoying myself. So it got really scared, and it sat in a corner, and it just wouldn't move, thinking that, oh, is it going to happen to me again? But then after a little while, the rat was feeling hungry, and he was thinking, oh, what do I do? So again, he started moving around, and he pressed the button, and again, some chapati fell. So he ate the chapati, and he was happy again. He forgot about what had happened previously. So he was happy again. And then after a little while, he pressed again, and some cheese fell out. And then after a little while, again, he would get this electric shock, and then he would get sad, and he would get scared, and then he would sit in a corner and think, okay, I'm not going to move now. But then, something within himself, when he was hungry, he thinks that, oh, some cheese, some delicious cheese might fall out. So let me try again. And the scientists, they kept changing the way that these things were happening as well. And then the rat kept doing this. And then what the scientists did was they opened the gate so the rat could go out again. But the rat didn't want to go out. He kept on doing this, getting some cheese sometimes, getting some chapati sometimes, getting an electric shock sometimes. But, he didn't want to leave. And, I was thinking that our life is like that, isn't it? We've come into this material world, which is like a trap, and we are enjoying ourselves. We are using all our senses to enjoy ourselves. And sometimes we also get pain, difficulties come into our lives. In this material world, we've got the three miseries, Adidevika, Adibhotika, and Adhyatmika. We've got, pain or, miseries caused by our own body and mind, by other living entities, by natural disasters. In the COVID time, we've seen how badly that affected us. So, there are times when, it gets really bad, but then we always have that hope that, I can still enjoy. I'm still enjoying. I want more enjoyment. And, we are also in this trap. And, the urge for spiritual inquiry is not happening because we are just indulging in this lust. This is the lust, enjoyment. And the door is open for us as well. Lord Chaitanya came and he opened the door for us. But sometimes we don't want to leave, we want to carry on doing what that was doing. So what is this door actually? So this door is to become self-realized. It talks about knowledge in this verse. So become self-realized through knowledge and understand our position. What is our position? And way back to Godhead. So, and we can't do this, because our knowledge is covered. In the previous verses, the screen. So in the previous knowledge, we saw how our, how jnana is actually covered. There is jnana and vijnana. Both are knowledge. This is not just mundane knowledge. This is knowledge which makes us self-realized, knowledge about who we are, who the Lord is, what is our relationship, all of that. So the vijnana is actually this realized knowledge. And so by practicing Krishna consciousness, you get this realization of your relationship with Krishna. So this is what vijnana is. And we need to understand that in controlling this enemy, lust, we need knowledge. But, because of sense gratification, we lose this sometimes. So first we lose our senses. We heard yesterday that lust actually resides in our senses, our intelligence, and in our mind. But first, it attacks our senses, because if our senses are attacked, then, our mind will be out of control. And because our mind will be out of control, we will lose our intelligence. Sometimes it happens that, we want something desperately, and then when we don't get it, we get angry, and then our mind gets really agitated, and then, we end up doing things we don't want to do because our intelligence is lost as well. And then, so we must also acquire, and not just take up sense gratification like the animals. So we should take up Krishna consciousness. Now, these senses are so powerful, and we can't give up the senses. And it doesn't say in the Bhagavad Gita that we stop our senses. It's not possible, and we shouldn't force ourselves to do that. But actually, we use our senses to serve Krishna in the service of Krishna. So whatever sense gratification, whatever needs of our senses are, we actually use them in a Krishna conscious way to serve Krishna. And in this verse, we just read that Krishna says that he's giving us a way out by following regulative principles of devotional service. Now, what is devotional service? Yesterday, Vivian and Prabhu actually shared this. That devotional service is when we are chanting, we are reading, we are listening, we are associating with other devotees like we're doing now. We are offering bhoga and anything that is related to Krishna. So, this is all devotional service. So this is actually Sadhana Bhakti. So actually, bhakti can be categorized into 3 stages. So one is Sadhana Bhakti, Then from after that comes Bhava Bhakti, and then after that comes Prema Bhakti. So Sadhana Bhakti is when we become regulated. So, Srila Prabhupada says here that we have to become regulated. So, this is when we begin. So we don't have a taste for devotional service. So, we are trying, we are getting regulated. We're just trying to follow the 4 regulative principles that have been given to us. We try to chant, and we try to do what, it says in the scriptures, what our seniors try to, instruct us. Our Guru Maharaj tells us what to do. But within this Sadhana Bhakti, we also have Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. So there's 2 things here within Sadhana Bhakti. So Vaidhi Bhakti, so Vidhi, the word Vidhi just means rules. So we follow these rules and regulations first. And we just talked about those. So, we're chanting the 4 regulative principles, which I think everyone must know. No intoxication, no meat eating, no illicit relationships, and no gambling. So, these are not good for us because they just impel us to gratify our senses more and more. So, these need to be regulated. So we just follow the instructions, although we have no taste at this point. We find it very challenging, the chanting and following this. Our tongue, it wants to eat different things, and we find it really difficult. But we just try. So that is Vaidhi Bhakti. So we try and follow the rules and regulations. And then another part of Sadhana Bhakti is Raganuga Bhakti. And it's the same, exactly the same as Vaidhi Bhakti. But now it's not like we don't feel like doing it, or we're finding it so difficult. We are slowly, we are developing a little bit of taste. So, we actually enjoy chanting, or, reading or hearing, or, we're developing that little bit of taste. So that's Raganuga Bhakti. So Vaidhi Bhakti is, I have to do it. So, sometimes we say, I have to chant, I have to do it. But Raganuga is when I want to. So, you feel like, oh, I want to chant now, like that. So that's how it is. So this Sadhana Bhakti is just when we are sowing that seed, of Bhakti. And just like, when we sow a seed for a fruit to grow, you don't see the fruit immediately. So then you think, will it grow? Will it not grow? What is happening? Nothing's going on here. I'm watering, I'm doing everything, nothing's happening. So it's a bit like that, with our Bhakti as well, Sadhana Bhakti. So, we want the fruits immediately. We don't have patience. So we want to see. And if nothing happens, we think, oh, I'm wasting my time, or what am I doing? Nothing's happening here. So, but we have to be patient. We have to be patient, just like the fruit, will come out one day, and, we can then relish this ripe fruit. We have to be patient, and, slowly it will grow. So this is the seed of Bhakti we are growing in our heart. So we sow that seed so that one day the fruit will grow. So that is the first bit, first stage, that is Sadhana Bhakti. And then, after we get a little bit of taste and we carry on like this, then we come on to Bhava Bhakti. So in Bhava Bhakti, the taste for devotional service actually intensifies. And symptoms actually manifest in devotees, like, they say that the hair stand on end, they uncontrollably, tears are flowing from their eyes and things like that. But, these things we can't pretend, it has to come naturally. We can't force ourselves to do that. This is like Sajias, they pretend that they're crying and doing all these things. But, we can't do that. It has to come sincerely, by doing devotional service sincerely and in a really, really humble mood. Lord Chaitanya came and he said that we should show humility. So we should perform our devotional service in a very humble mood and very sincerely. And this is when we see something starts growing in our hearts, that seed that we sowed of bhakti. And when you see a fruit come on the tree, you become really hopeful and enthusiastic. Wow, I can see something. Something is now happening, it's growing. But still, it's in that state where you can't relish it, you can't pick the fruit because it's not ripe, it's still very raw, and it's just started growing. So, you still have to keep working hard. So you have to sincerely keep, going on, trying to, on, the devotional service. You carry on with your devotional service in the hope that it will soon ripen and fructify. And then we move on to Prema Bhakti. And this is after some time, after you sincerely keep practicing devotional service, you achieve this stage as well, which is called Prema Bhakti. So when you're totally, totally blissful, you can't stop yourself. You really can't stop from performing devotional service. You want to serve Krishna all the time. You want to sing kirtan all the time. You want to chant all the time. So now this fruit is ripe and you can really relish it. It's so sweet. It's a bit like, the gopis. The gopis were actually complaining, when Krishna left, he abandoned them. And they were thinking that, you've just gone, you've left us. And, why can't we forget you? Why are we remembering you all the time? And I was thinking that in my case, it's like, I want to, but I can't remember Krishna. It's the opposite, like I can't remember Krishna. I have to, regulate myself so that, at points I am trying to remember Krishna like that. So, and how is this related to lust? What we are talking about in this verse is that we want to counteract our enemy, which is lust. So we need to engage, it in devotional service. So, most of us are on Sadhana Bhakti stage, especially I am, where, it's very mechanical. Our guru has given us instructions. So we're trying our best to do it. We're trying really hard to do our devotional service. And, we have some days when chanting is so challenging. We're feeling sleepy, and temptations come our way. And we think, oh, what do? I want to do this. But, we shouldn't give up. We should carry on. Srila Prabhupada gives a good example of jaundice. When somebody's got jaundice, this patient, they generally give them sugarcane juice. Now, because this person has this disease, they think that it's really bitter. They don't think it's sweet and they don't want to drink it. But if they don't drink it, how are they going to get better? And, so to get better, they have to drink it, although it's bitter. But, once the disease goes away, then they will again find that, oh, yeah, it was sweet. It is sweet. So, the patient has to carry on. Just like that, we have to carry on. And just like that, the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is so, so sweet. But, when we wake up in the early hours of the morning, we are tired, we are sleepy, our mind is racing. What are we going to do at work, today? Oh, I forgot to do this. I need to do that. So our mind is racing here, there, everywhere, and we are finding it bitter as well to chant. But if we carry on, we will also get that taste. And, soon we won't be able to stop chanting. And I remember this, I can't remember actually which Guru Maharaj it was, but this Maharaj was giving class, and there was a Mataji there. I don't know, some of you might know this story better than I do, but I can't remember very well. But this Mataji was there, and so this Maharaj said to the Mataji, that she was chanting actually. So he said to the Mataji that, Mataji, you can't chant and listen to the lecture at the same time. You either listen or you go out and chant, And so, he chastised her. And she said that, actually, I can't stop myself. I'm not chanting. I can't stop my tongue from vibrating, if chanting Krishna's name. So, we want to get to that stage where we just can't stop, we just want to chant and we're relishing it. And, as we focus on hearing the sound of the Maha Mantra. So, this is so wonderful and, it's so inspiring that that's where we want to all reach as well. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I hope everyone knows about, this is about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Leela. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy. And Ramananda Roy is saying to Lord Chaitanya, when they're having this conversation, that even if someone chants for millions and millions of years, they will not benefit. There will be benefit a little bit, but not the ultimate benefit. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knows about everything, but he was just like, he didn't say anything. He was playing like, we say, the devil's advocate. So he questioned him. He said, so, okay, so then how do we get the ultimate benefit? And so Ramananda Rai then gave a really interesting answer. And he said that, that for Prema Bhakti, we need lolium. And lolium means greed. So we need to become greedy. Now, isn't that a strange answer to hear? Like greed? Why do we need to be greedy? We were just talking about that. We don't need to have sense gratification. We need to be regulated. So why do we need to be greedy? But he said that actually you need to be greedy for spiritual activities. So for devotional services, we have to be greedy. So, for example, if we're chanting one round, then we have to be greedy that, oh, I want to chant more. I want to chant 2 rounds from tomorrow, 3 rounds. Or that Mataji is chanting 5 rounds. Maybe I can try as well. So we have to be greedy, or say that if I'm chanting 4, I will move on to 8. Like that. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, I'm just digressing a little bit, but Srila Prabhupada has been so kind to us, like in the beginning when he said, the amount of rounds you need to chant, his early disciples, the first disciples, they were actually shocked. And they were saying that, Srila Prabhupada, we can't chant this many rounds. It will take us hours. We won't be able to do anything else. And then Srila Prabhupada reduced it. He said, okay, 64. They said, no, 32, no. And then Srila Prabhupada said, finally 16. That is the minimum amount, that I'm giving to you. I'm not going any lower than that. That's the minimum. So actually 16 is the least amount that, we have to chant. And, like I'm talking about myself, that every morning, I get so happy, 16 rounds done, finished until the next day, but it shouldn't be like that. We should have so much greed that, Srila Prabhupada said minimum 16. So what is my maximum that I can get to, that I can be chanting more and more? I want to be greedy, so this is where we are using our senses and our sense gratification to do more and more devotional service. And also, we need to be greedy to associate with others, because, this greed won't come by itself. We have to associate, even in the material world, for mundane things. If you want to play a sport or something, then, if you want to play football, then you will associate with other people, watch football with them, dissect the game, talk about the strategies. Other people who don't know, like me, who don't know anything about football, what is the point? They're not going to inspire you. You're not going to learn anything from them. So who do we associate with? People who can who are greedy for spiritual things, for devotional service. So they can then inspire us and help us for us to become greedy as well. So we really need to associate with other people and, chanting with them. During this COVID time, it's been so great that, we've all been chanting together in groups. There's so many groups that, in the morning on Zoom or whatever media, people chant together. So then when you're chanting together, then you feel like chanting more and more as well. And you feel that greed. So in that way, we can engage all our senses like Amrish Maharaj did. Now, I'm not going to repeat this because previously we talked about Amrish Maharaj on this group. But, he was engaging each of his senses in devotional service. So, like using legs to go to holy places, using our mouths to speak about Krishna, honoring prasadam, singing kirtan, chanting. And we talked about some of these things yesterday as well with Divyanand Prabhu, eyes to see the beautiful darshan and things like that. So all of our senses, we can do that. And this is the only way we can counterattack this lust, to get rid of this lust. And I'm just going to say one last point, and then we're going to stop and take any reflections that you might have. So Srila Prabhupada here in this verse, he says that we have to, from the beginning, we have to be educated in Krishna consciousness. Now, we are so lucky in this day and age that we have so many, groups like Krishna Club. We've got the Gurukul, we've got these Avanti schools. We have got so many facilities for children, so that right from the beginning, we can encourage them to live their lives in Krishna consciousness, be conscious of Krishna. So it's such a good thing that they have. But people like me, I didn't have that sort of a beginning. So I came into Krishna consciousness. Okay, we were devotional, we believed in Krishna, but we also believed in other gods and, typical Hindu family. But, we came to Krishna consciousness quite late. But, Srila Prabhupada also says here that it's never too late, from wherever you are, you can actually take this up seriously, and, to the level you take it up so seriously, that's the level you will progress at. So, you will progress at speed if you become so greedy, like we just talked about Lolium. And it's never too late. So, whatever stage of life you're in, and, you come to Krishna consciousness, it's never too late. And, the one thing that we need to do is to engage all our senses in Krishna consciousness and to take up this greed, become greedy. And, there is no loss. Srila Prabhupada said that whatever credits, whatever percentage you are on Krishna consciousness, it is never lost, and life after life, we can keep building until we are 100%. And, we can go back to Godhead, back to Krishna. So I will stop here now because it's 2:40 already, 8:40 already. And, open up if anyone has any reflections or any questions or anything or any corrections that they would like to share. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Saci Rani.
Hare Krishna, Palika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, nice to see you here. Wonderful to hear from you.
Thank you.
Actually, I like this the experiment the scientists were doing with the rat, and how we are connected to the rat, and how we came to this material world, how we were greedy, and then we think, yes, it's a little bit of maybe you see something little and you think, oh yes, that's it, that's the end of it. Now I'm okay, That's why the rat was feeling the same way when all the difficulty, the rat not getting the the piece of cheese or the roti or whatever. Then he was sitting, and then he said, "No, I'm okay." Exactly like our situation. That's why Krishna just said, "Okay, go and see how it is without me." So it's a very nice analogy you gave. So give us it's a very good thinking. And also systematically, you showed so nicely. You explained everything nicely, how we come to the the Sadhana Bhakti to Bhava Bhakti, then to Prema Bhakti, stage by stage, how we can develop ourselves actually. Actually, this whole process is such a wonderful process Srila Prabhupada has given us. There couldn't be anything better than this. I mean, I wasn't in Krishna conscious from the beginning, though I was brought up in a very kind of a very pious family, I would say, from the beginning. We would get up early in the morning because we used to live next to a ashram. Then they would get up 5 o'clock 4 o'clock in the morning. They used to do some bhajan, and our house, because it was just next to it, we follow the same pattern. We used to all get up early in the morning. We used to do our bhajan. Then we used to clean the temple floor. We had a little God's room, and we practice all that. But Krishna wasn't there. There was some kind of a superiority. Yes, the God is there, but we were not told that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and all the regulative principles. So Krishna consciousness is a wonderful way of getting our back to our spiritual self, and you explained so nicely. So thank you for for being here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Palika Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Anyone else, or should we stop here? Okay, so I think we stop here. Thank you so much for listening so patiently and giving me this opportunity. I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.